to another video. Now today we are back with the Championship predictions. Today I've got Leon as my guest. How you doing, Leon?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I'm on a high one after Coventry's result on Friday night. It's great to have Leon back actually. He's brilliant with his predictions. He's obviously got football knowledge and he's done his research, so I'm excited for this video. My result against Sophie is up there. We drew 1-1, so it means that the guests are still leading, but maybe I can beat Leon and catch up with the guests today. Let's get straight into it then with Tuesday night fixtures. We have Brentford versus Swansea, so two teams that are definitely going to be looking towards promotion this season. We've played both of them. Brentford obviously were very good against Coventry. They look very good at the moment. Tony is scoring lots of goals. As for Swansea, they look quite good. I think they're usually better at home. When we played Swansea, we could have beat them actually. We drew 1-1 with them. But I think these two are very evenly matched, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was a 1-1 draw, so that's what I'm going for.
Good prediction, Matt. I think both teams, as Matt said, they both got really good results at the weekend, and so I think both maybe could be a little bit happier at times with their starts to the season. I think probably a lot of teams in the Championship could, because there's been a lot of inconsistencies. But I'm going to back a Brentford win for this one. I think at home they'll have a bit more of an advantage. As Matt said, Tony's scoring lots of goals, joint most goals in the Championship so far this season. I'm going to go for a Brentford 2-1 win.
Ooh, Brentford 2-1. Okay, moving on to the next game then. We have Huddersfield Town going up against Bristol City. Now, it's an interesting game this. Huddersfield Town just seem to be very inconsistent. They're winning games and they're losing games. Picked up a fantastic 3-0 win away at Millwall on the Saturday. As for Bristol City, they're starting to fall away from the top of the table. They started fantastically well. I think they won their first 4 or 5 games and now they're starting to fall away. I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think both teams are struggling to get that really good form going, so I think a draw wouldn't surprise me.
I can't really disagree with Matt there. I think if you'd asked me this question about maybe 4 weeks ago, I think I'd have had Bristol hands down. But looking now after a couple of losses, not looking too great now, I'm going to go for a 0-0.
Oh, a 0-0, okay.
Yeah.
The next game then is Norwich City versus Millwall Football Club. I think this is a really exciting fixture for the weekend. Millwall have had a very decent start to the season, but that 3-0 loss to Huddersfield, that's a very strange one. As for Norwich, they started reasonably well, but they're starting to hit that form now. They're starting to pick up a few wins. That 3-1 at Bristol City was a fantastic result at the weekend. I think Norwich are going to have just a bit too much for Millwall, especially with the form they're in. I'm just going to fancy them 1-0.
I completely agree with Matt, not necessarily on the prediction, but I think Norwich, they're just kind of starting to build, starting to refine their form when they were in the Championship a few seasons back. Pukki's got 3 goals in his last 3, so can we potentially see him scoring more goals? So I'm going to go for a Norwich 2-0 victory.
Ooh. Next up then, we have bottom of the league, Sheffield Wednesday going up against the in-form Bournemouth, who only picked up a 1-1 against Derby actually. But I do fancy them here because Sheffield Wednesday, it's starting to fall apart again. They obviously started on -12. I didn't fancy them to do very well. Then they won their first game. They picked up a few decent results. I thought, oh, they might get out of this. But their form started to dip again. They lost to Wycombe, which was a crucial game at the weekend. It's not over for Sheffield Wednesday. Obviously, their fans, you know, I'm not telling them that they're going down, but I don't fancy them to get a result here. I'm going to go for Bournemouth 2-0.
Bournemouth. I'm going to go with Bournemouth as well. I think Bournemouth, obviously, they're unbeaten at the start of the season. Probably a few more draws than they would have liked, and I think, as Matt pointed out, with Wednesday just started to fall off the boil a little bit. It felt like they were kind of creeping back, bringing back their deducted points total back to 0, and then they could build on it from there. However, just lately it started to fall back off a little bit. So I'm going to back a Bournemouth 1-0 win.
Ooh, okay. The next game then is Blackburn Rovers versus Middlesbrough Football Club. Now, Coventry City have played both of these, so I've seen both of them play. Middlesbrough are a very professional team. They've got a very solid squad with Neil Warnock leading them. I think they're definitely going to make the top 6 this season. I think they look very, very well organised. As for Blackburn Rovers, on their day, I've said they can beat anyone. They are fantastic on their day. They can score goals. They've got Adam Armstrong. They've got so many quality players, but they lose a lot of games as well. So I don't know what to predict for this one. I think they're quite evenly matched, so I'm going to go for another 1-1 draw.
Well, good prediction, Matt. I think, as Matt pointed out as well, Blackburn, plenty of goals in the Championship this season. Adam Armstrong, he's got 9 goals this season in the Championship. However, Middlesbrough, you know, quite a solid start. Their season starting to take a lot more shape now, I think. And their results lately have been very good, whereas Blackburn, 4 losses and 1 win in their last 5 games, not looking too great. So I'm going to go for a 3-2 Middlesbrough win.
Ooh, that'd be a great game to watch. Next up then we have Cardiff City versus Barnsley. Now Cardiff City were involved in a very good game at QPR the other day, losing 3-2, but they could have got something out of it, going up against an in-form Barnsley who have picked up back-to-back wins, surprisingly beating Watford 1-0, a fantastic win. Obviously just before that they beat QPR 3-0, so Barnsley are looking very good, but I think Barnsley will pick up more points at home than they will away this season, so I'm actually going to back Cardiff to win this 1-0.
Well, good prediction. I'm possibly going to go for a draw for this one. I think both teams they're both on 10 points. So I think this game could be, in terms of the long term of the season, I think this could be quite an important game maybe if they both end up around the same position. In that little group in the Championship where teams can quite easily, if you just pick up points towards the end of the season, you can push towards playoffs. If not, you get dragged in towards the relegation scrap. And I think this is going to be a 1-1.
Oh, okay, that's a great prediction that. The next game then is Reading versus Preston, and obviously the mighty Coventry City took down Reading on the Friday night. That's their first defeat of the season, going up against a Preston team that have been losing quite a lot of games lately. I think Reading are going to want to get back to winning ways, and I think they're going to try and stabilise that defence after conceding 3 against Coventry. So I expect defences to be on top in this game with only 1 goal separating them, and that goal is going to go to Reading, 1-0 Reading.
1-0 Reading. I'm going to back a Reading win as well. I think, you know, could they possibly look at the Coventry game as just an inconsistent result, a one-off? I think they possibly could with the start they've had. You know, they're a little bit clear. I think they're 4 points off at the top of the table. And so I'm going to back a Reading 3-1 win.
Ooh, okay. The next game then is Watford versus Stoke City. Now Stoke City are starting to pick up a bit of form. They got 3 points against Rotherham at the weekend with that win over them at home. They're going up against Watford that lost surprisingly to Barnsley 1-0. So I think this is a hard one to predict. I think both teams definitely have a chance of getting promoted this season. They just need to be a bit more consistent. I'm going to go for a really exciting game at Vicarage Road. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. I'm probably going to go for Watford for this one. I think, you know, for this season, I think a lot of Watford fans were quite hopeful because of the squad that they actually had going into the season. However, a few injuries already this season, and they're just not scoring enough goals. You know, they've got the likes of João Pedro playing, and they've got Ismail Sarr. I just think still they don't score enough goals. However, defensively they are very solid, and they've been keeping out quite a few goals recently. And I'm going to go for a 1-0 Watford win. 1-0
Watford. Okay. Next up then we've got Birmingham City going up against Wycombe Wanderers. Now I'm so pleased that Wycombe got that first win of the season against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. Obviously their first championship win, so they'll be very pleased to get that quite early in the season, not chasing that halfway through the season. I think obviously Wycombe do have a chance of surviving this season, so they're going to want to pick up as many points as they can. But this Birmingham team, they just look quite good at the moment. Obviously I think Birmingham are a bit of a mid-table team usually, but when they get the form right they could definitely push towards the top half of the table, and I'm going to back them to beat Wycombe 2-0.
Oh, I'm going to go for an opposite. I'm going to go for a Wycombe shock result. I'm going to go for a Wycombe 1-0 away from home. I think Wycombe, they're just starting to kind of slowly find their feet in the Championship. They were a bit unlucky actually against Watford in the draw back last week, and then at the weekend they had their first win, and so I think they're going to start to build on that momentum now, and so 1-0 Wycombe.
Wow, okay. The next game then is Derby County, who picked up a 1-1 draw against Bournemouth, going up against this QPR team that picked up a fantastic result against Cardiff. They were 2-0 up, they conceded 2, it looked like they'd dropped 2 points, but then a very, very good goal in the last minute snatched the 3 points for QPR. They go up against this Derby team that, like I've said, they haven't been great so far this season, but I think the home advantage is going to pay off, and I think Derby are going to win this 1-0.
Oh, I'm going to go for an opposite. I'm going to go for QPR. I think Derby, really inconsistent at times. Sometimes they just seem to kind of snatch late goals out of nowhere, and that kind of, you know, I think it relieves a little bit of some of the pain that some of the Derby fans have had watching some of the performances this season of the team. And so I'm going to back a QPR win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
Okay, the next game then is Coventry City away to Nottingham Forest. I'd love to have gone to this, obviously fans can't go. I think this is one of my favourite stadiums. It's one of my favourite clubs in the Championship as well. I've got a lot of respect for Nottingham Forest. It's a hard game to predict. Nottingham Forest have looked a bit better under Chris Hughton, but they still look a little bit suspect. Obviously Coventry picking up a fantastic win against Reading, but could easily go back to losing ways in this game. So I usually go for 1-1, so I'm not going to go for a 1-1. I'm going to go for a 2-2.
A 2-2, good prediction. I'm probably going to go for quite a similar result. I'm going to go for a 1-1 in this game. I think Coventry will be, their motivation will be a lot higher going into this game off the back of the Reading win. Nottingham Forest, it's been a little bit up and down so far this season. I think last season they really looked at the start of the season like they were building something stronger. However, this season it's just not been quite the same. As Matt said, new manager, Chris Hughton, very proven Championship manager going up into the Premier League. So I think 1-1 for this game.
Okay, and then the final game is Rotherham United going up against Luton Town. Now, two teams at the start of the season you'd have possibly predicted to get relegated, but so far they've looked quite good, especially Luton, except for that defeat at the weekend against Brentford. They lost 3-0, which wasn't very good at all. I think these two are going to get more points at home than they will away. So if Luton were at home, I might have backed them to win this, but Rotherham at home, so I'm going to go for them to win this 2-0.
Well, I'm going to go for a draw for this result. I think both teams, it could end up being quite a cagey game. As Matt said, you'd kind of back them both to be towards the lower ends of the table, and I think we could quite easily see that happening. So I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Okay, and that completes today's video then, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. We are very close to 1,000 subs. It'd be great if we get there. Cheers for coming along, Leon.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
And we're going to be doing the FA Cup predictions video, so keep an eye out for that as well, because it's FA Cup round 1 on Saturday. And we'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace out.